Might live. Local glow. Sip of water. Here we go. Yeah. We on air now. Turn it up, sit back, vibe out. New day, new talk, no doubt. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I have some wonderful, smart, and brilliant guests that I am excited to have on Expressions of a Hairstylist Off the Record today. We have Miss Leslie Roston, who has been a teacher for 27 years. Miss Christina Douglas, who has been a teacher for 13 years. We have Miss Kiera Kelso, who has been a teacher for 7.5 to 8 years here in the city of Columbus. And we have Miss KD, who is a social worker in all of the schools in the city of Columbus. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I like to start the show out with 20 to 30 seconds of good customer service that you've experienced recently. It could be 30 days or 60 days. I just think it's really important for us to point out those that are delivering consistent, good customer service on a daily basis. So I am going to start with you, Miss Kiera Kelso. Have you experienced any good customer service in the last 30 days?
I have. We actually just took a trip to Las Vegas for my dad's wedding, and the flight attendants on our flights were absolutely incredible. They were great with my daughter. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and this is her second time flying, but the first time that she's almost 4, so that she might remember. And so they were incredible with her, and the pilots even let her up into the cockpit so that she could see everything up front. And so yeah, they were wonderful. So shout out to them, especially Miss Rachel. If you ever listen to this, flight attendant Rachel, you made Nova's day. She wrote her a handwritten letter afterwards, after the flight, and so it's pretty special.
Miss Roston, can you share any good customer service you've experienced over the last and recently?
Yes. So on Thursday and Friday of last week, students from across Central Ohio participated in what is called Momentum. And the students, we go downtown to the Vern Rife Center for 2 days. And the ushers, the people that were there to help us navigate this event were absolutely wonderful. They've always been so patient. This is my second year doing this. They're always so patient with our students and staff. It's kind of an organized chaos type of situation, but all the workers, all the volunteers that came to help us with the Momentum show Thursday and Friday at Vern Rife were amazing. So thank you. And we look forward to coming back next year.
That is awesome. Miss Christina, can you think of any good customer service you've experienced recently?
I would have to say I attended a free plant swap at Mid-Ohio Farm, and the organizer was very friendly, very helpful, showing you where everything was. Every participant was also helpful, telling you information you needed to know about the plants, where you should plant them, just all kinds of things. It was just like a really great event, and they made the space welcoming, along with adjusting food for different diets and things like that.
Good. We love good customer service. Miss Khadijah, have you experienced any good customer service here recently or in the last 30 days?
Yes. Where would I say the last 30 days? Okay, so I can say for my brother, I'm gonna say this. My brother he's a PCA, and I saw him go over and beyond for his client, an elderly client. When I tell you, like, catering to the family, and just seeing him in that role, it took me back, see just gratitude and just seeing like, okay, I mean, even though it's family, but I see like people just going over and beyond, and it's still that love and nurture.
That is what I like to hear. So shout out to everyone who is giving out great customer service because we need more of it. What was the specific moment or the specific student, this is for my teachers, what was the specific moment or the specific student that made you realize you were meant for this career? And Ms. Roston, I'm going to start with you.
So I would say it wasn't necessarily a specific student or a specific moment, but coming from a family of educators, my mom was a teacher, my dad, a school psychologist, and my grandma was a librarian. And to me, it just felt like it was kind of the family business. So I just thought this is what we were supposed to do. And I had, many mentors growing up, but it kind of was like this is what I was supposed to do. So through the years, there's always been a student or two that make me want to come back each year. But as far as starting my career, it was just kind of I thought it was the family business, so to speak.
You wanted to continue the legacy, and that is what you're doing. So that is awesome. Christina, can you tell me, was there something specific that spoke to you that helped you start your career in teaching?
Um, Nothing specific. I did when I used to work as a caseworker, I was a substitute and I worked in an they're called SLCs now for students with disabilities. And that was kind of the catalyst of where it led me. I didn't begin teaching like for 10 years later, but that was a really important moment for me. And as far as like realizing that I was meant for the career, I think when you have students come back like after graduation or after they, leave middle school, um, that makes me feel that I'm doing something good.
Absolutely. I love all of there's tons of the teachers that I hug and love on after I've been out of school. So that definitely has something to do with it. Miss Kelso, can you give us what was a specific moment or thought or student that helped get you started in teaching?
I can agree with the other ladies that there's not like a specific moment, but there are moments, when the kids write letters or at both schools that I've taught at, at the end of the year, they'll write letters or for Teacher Appreciation Week or whatever, and they'll say, I never liked reading before your class, or I never liked school until I had you, or, they'll have those affirming moments, or when you teach that lesson where you see the light bulbs go off, you teach that lesson, then you have a follow up, and in the follow up, they're understanding and they're getting it. And you just have those affirming moments like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I've had kids in the past. There's this one kid that I had, and she actually has made two now hand knitted blankets for my daughter. And so it's like those kinds of things. I have like a special cup. There's one other kid, he was trying to be anonymous. I found out eventually who it was, but it's for Teacher Appreciation Week. And he gave me, I used to eat apples every day. How stereotypical, but you see apples every day for my snack. And so this big, two big Honeycrisp apples, and the letter was from a good tree to the best teacher, and I lost it. And so it's like those kinds of things that reaffirm, this is where I'm supposed to be.
How did you know though? How did you know when you were in college that you wanted to be a teacher?
It was a professor. I actually didn't want to be a teacher. I wanted to be a sign language interpreter, and I just knew I was going to go into sign language, and I was so excited about it. I'd had a bad experience in the community. Not to shy anybody away from the community, it's a wonderful community, but it made me rethink things. And I had a professor, shout out to Dr. Garrison at Kent State University. I was in my Pan African Studies class, and the way he was passionate about what he was teaching and the way he could just draw you in because he was so passionate. I was like, you know what? I could do this. Like I like you and I like what you're doing. And, he was who inspired me to go into education. Yeah.
Good job. Shout out to him. And KD, I definitely want to know, how did you know that you wanted to be a social worker?
Ooh, so honestly, the way it started was I originally went to school to be a probation parole officer. and got my degree. I was doing an internship, and then I got a job interview. They said you were a great candidate, but you need experience in case management. So I ended up going into mental health case management, and the connection that I had with my clients, with my students. That's what told me and confirmed for me that I was where I was supposed to be. Um, yeah, it wasn't me saying, because even there was a little bit of an insecurity even starting my first year, because I'm like, this is not necessarily like the realm I was trying to go into. This is not what I knew and saw for myself. But the fact, like, the conversation and the connection came so effortlessly, and it was like I didn't need all the extras to help and to assist and give interventions. It's just that connection, or just that listening ear, really is what the students need, to be honest. So that's how. And that was back in what, 2016, 17. So I've been doing it since then. So yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like every last one of you were destined, uh, and to be where you are. And the three of you just kind of had to step into the right direction to get there. That's pretty awesome. Like all three sound like you were born. And Miss Rossin, of course, you were going because it's the legacy. But the other three is just like, you kind of stepped into it. What is the one thing about your job that Hollywood or TV shows always get wrong? And I'm going to start with Christina.
I would say accurate representation. You always see like the stereotype of a teacher, but it's never, I don't always see like a special education teacher. And I'm a special education teacher, specifically for students with that are medically fragile and who have like cognitive like deficits. So my day looks a lot different than a typical teacher, and I don't see that in the media at all. That's something that I would say is missing, because our days, every teacher's day looks way different. Your unit, where your school is, your age level, and it's just not all the same. And if we could show the vastness of our career and the things that you can do, I think we would be able to recruit a little bit better and retain teachers.
For sure. I definitely agree with that Hollywood and television need to do a much better job of representing teachers who teach children with special needs or disabilities, because I don't know if I've ever even seen any movie that has had that in it at all. I can't think of one. So yeah, that might be something that I may have to reach out to a producer or of someone to try to see if we can change that. Miss Kelso, can
prior
you?
to prior to Abbott Elementary, we didn't see any Black teachers. It wasn't a thing. You had great teachers. Shout out to Miss Honey from Matilda, but you didn't see like Black teachers. And so kids, Black boys and girls, didn't even realize that that was an option for them. And, until Abbott Elementary, and that was what, in the last 10 years or so. So, yeah, accurate representation for Black boys and girls, and even still, that's one show. So we definitely need more representation for our community.
Think the only movie that I could kind of think of that actually had one Black teacher that I remember was Lean on Me. Lean on Me, with the principal and assistant principal were Black, and then you had one Black teacher. And so, yeah, for sure, they definitely need to do a better job of depicting Black teachers, in male and female, especially male. I just feel like there's a
Yeah,
lack of male teacher representation in Hollywood
yeah.
television.
Furious Styles, he was another one. But even then, that's what, three movies. So
Mm, for sure. And Khadijah, what is something you, as a social worker, what is something that you see Hollywood or television that always gets wrong about your position?
I would say the overall importance um of mental health advocates, of counselors, of social workers, of teachers, how important it is. Like always hear about sports and always hear about lawyers, doctors, all these different realms, but you don't hear a lot about the emphasis and importance of it, and then also the importance of self-care. Like taking a step back and doing what you need to do for yourself, so that you can show up for your students, for your clients. That's, I feel like, the biggest thing, because I feel like a lot of people get burnt out because they're not only advocating for their students themselves, but also their family. So that's also a big thing in itself as well. So like us actually taking time for self, especially as Black women, like they're always telling us to be doing something, like running somewhere, like completing something. Like they don't ever make it feel like it's okay for us to sit still, like, and just be. So yeah.
I totally agree with that. I completely and totally agree with all of that. So, yeah, we as women, there's quite a bit of expectation on our shoulders that I don't think people see all the time. For you as teachers, how do you know when a student's needs have moved beyond academic and they need the support or they need more intervention from social workers? And I'll start with you, Ms. Roston.
Can I go back to the previous question for just 1 second?
Sure, sure.
Okay. And this kind of rolls into this one, I think. One thing, I know within the time, constraints of a 30-minute show or a 1.5 hour movie, they tend to want to wrap things up. But one thing that I see is that I might not see a result in a student, if I'm looking at a student's progress and maybe we're thinking of some interventions, it doesn't get wrapped up very quickly. It's an ongoing process. So this year I'm teaching fourth grade. I have a student where we have enough data, because all these ladies know data is very important, that now we're looking at some maybe other supports that the student needs. So I understand, TV, movies, they have to wrap it up, but we don't wrap up just because the school year is over. We don't wrap up just because my fourth grade student is going to fifth grade, or my, second grade student is going to third grade. And so I think that is a big thing that we have to realize. And, it's that consistency that we meet our students where they are, but we also recognize, when there's something that needs to be, kind of escalated to another level of support. And I think that's part of, what my last year. I have a couple more years now. I'm so excited, but I realize there's so much intention that we put into our students, into our buildings, not just my students, but the students who I may see coming down the hallway. When I start to notice changes in their behavior or patterns, a little light says, okay, something's, maybe I need to spend a little more time with them, or maybe I need to reach out to our social worker because I've noticed changes. So, I think those kind of go together, is that it's consistency, and then just really knowing our students, knowing our building, knowing our families. And when something changes in their usual pattern, it's like, we need to kind of figure out what's going on. How can I better support them? How can I better support that family?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is, you have to be, you literally have to have a keen sense of um, wisdom to be able to spot things like that and not just disregard or overlook. Miss Christina.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what she said about the consistency in knowing your students. That's like the backbone of everything. And if I know my students, then I can recognize, hey, you've had on the same outfit, or um, now you don't want to eat. Now you do want to eat. Now you're crying more. You notice different things. But if when you know your students, I know that, maybe you spent the night over a relative's house, and that's why you look different than you normally do. Do you know what I mean? And when those type of things happen and you're noticing them, and then there's a pattern and it's affecting them as a human, not even like as a student, and affecting their work, that's when, it's important to talk with like the social worker.
And to pay
Does that
attention.
make
So
sense?
basically,
Pay attention, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the
Yeah.
behavior of the student. Absolutely.
Exactly.
That makes tons of sense. Ms. Kelso?
I can agree with what they said. It's always building relationships is so important because you don't even notice those things if you're not paying attention. And so paying attention is essential because it gives you the ability to notice those things. It's always a change or a red flag. I know for a student, it wasn't necessarily a change as much as we were doing a writing, and there were some concerning things in the writing. And I was like, okay, like we gotta talk about this. This isn't something that we can just look past. But definitely there's typically a red flag or an instinct. We go through a lot of training so that we know what those red flags are. And so those instincts can kick in. But I would agree, there's always something that changes or something that you notice that's just a little off. That indicates intervention, not on the mental health spectrum, but physical health. I noticed a student in their writing. There's bad handwriting, and then there's what I saw with this student. And I asked them, I'm like, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm really asking you this. Does it hurt? Like, is it painful? Because it almost looks like it hurts. And in my mind, I'm thinking for most kids, that pain comes maybe if they've been writing for 10, 15 minutes consistently and they're doing a time right or whatever the case may be. And he answered, he said, yeah, after about a sentence, it starts to hurt. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a red flag. We need some intervention. And so I reached out immediately to mom, to his intervention specialist, and they were able to reach out to the people at our building that were able to get him screened. And so he's going through the screening process right now. But there's red flags. You're trained for them, and then your instinct, you can feel them after a while. When things are off.
That's awesome. The gut feeling that you can't ignore, that you shouldn't ignore. Absolutely. KD, what is one thing you wish teachers understood about the invisible backpack trauma or life situations that students carry into the classroom?
I would say, to give students a little extra grace, patience, because for some students, their getaway is coming to school, and at home is very toxic. It could be they may have some triggers at school and things that are okay at home. So you can have a student that's, a little disruptive starting in the morning. The morning getting ready wasn't okay, a lot of chaos at home, and that's the first thing that they're starting their day off with. So if they're not able to be regulated, they're having a bad day the rest of the day because of something that happened at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I would say patience, a little grace, and that whole paying attention to detail. That's a big thing too. That's really, really big. Especially if, like, out of the 5 days, let's just say a student is acting out three out of those days, consistently, or having a disruptive outbreak in class, arguing with students. Like, if something's consistently happening, like that, something's going on. So yeah.
Thank you for that. It's a team here, and everyone is saying the same thing, being intuitive, paying attention, listening to your instincts of the behaviors of each student. Well, with that, can you share a story of a time when a tag team approach between you as a social worker and you as a teacher completely changed a student's trajectory? And Khadijah, I want to start with you.
Tag team. Okay, so I can think of a recent situation where I had a teen. She was maybe like 16, 15. And she would get called out in front of the class often. And that was an insecurity of hers. So rather than letting the teacher know, like one away, like I feel a little insecure speaking out or reading out loud, she would like get smart with the teacher or act out. Um, so when I would go to the school and talk to her and ask her about her day, we would get involved with that. She'd let me know like she didn't like it. And then her and the teacher sat and had a conversation about what was going on. And to get a little bit more assistant support, but mostly it was to where it was her being called out. It wasn't to where she was like, it was her purposely acting out, but it was something behind the reason why she was acting out. So, so yeah, that's where I call in that empathy again. So it's like, we understand that she has a little bit of a learning disability and she doesn't want to speak out about it. How can we kind of hit in the middle and compromise in that? But yes.
Miss Christina.
I would say I can't pinpoint a student, but I created a club a couple years ago. This is a high school for students. It's called the Wellness Club. And the Wellness Club is for students who don't have another place. They're not the athletic, they're not the musicians, they aren't on like the academic teams. They just may not have friends or have those social skills or coping skills, or who are acting out in class and maybe need an outlet. So I work with one of the school counselors, and I ask the teachers to kind of send me names of students who might benefit from our club, um, so that they can have a safe space. So my club is made up of all kind of kiddos. Um, and it's really cool because I have, like some of the kids that are kind of goth, or they are really into like anime, or you can just see they just don't quite fit in those, I don't know, kind of like assigned social groups. So in our club, I give them voice. They get to plan different activities. We do work on like social skills and coping. We do yoga and garden and cook and like things like that. So it really is their space. And working with the counselor and the social worker has given me referrals. I've been able to get a bunch of kids into a new space so they can have some fun.
That sounds like that's probably going to grow a lot bigger than what you think. That's just my personal opinion. It may be local right now, but I can guarantee you that that's going to grow.
I hope so. When I thought of it, I thought maybe no one would want to join. They might think it was silly. But having a child of my own who kind of was on the outskirts and didn't fit into any groups, I saw how that affected her and wanted to find a space for the other kids. And they just sometimes just bring just random kids and show up. So, and that's fine. And our group just gets bigger.
It gets bigger, and it will. It's going to continue to grow. But when I say grow, I mean like like across the country and the world. Like you might need to do something as far as trademarking that, because me working with kids in a salon and different types of kids, and just knowing how sometimes when people don't have a place to go and they don't have a space, but then you create one and they're comfortable in it. That's what I mean. I mean, like that's more than likely going to get much larger than what you ever anticipated. So just something to think about. Miss Kelso.
I have to piggyback off the clubs, I have 4 student groups that I advise, but the one that I advise that I work with a mental health specialist is Diversity Club. And we didn't have I took the group over from a couple of teachers who were passing the baton from last year. And the kids really wanted to shift the focus, not so much event forward, like still doing events, but to have those deep conversations about politics and about the world and about whatever it is they want to talk about. And so um, I thought I'm in over my head a little bit with that, being able to mediate, because I don't have that type of training, like what a mental health specialist could bring to the table. And so we were able to get one of our mental health specialists on board And she sits when they have the conversations planned. They do them every other week, and then they release the topic ahead of time. So she's able to sit in the meeting with us and also mediate and help the kids through their thought process, because they're talking about big things. And it's one of those things that in schools, teachers and clubs have sometimes shied away from it because they're afraid of the things that they're going to talk about and how they're going to talk about them and if they're going to treat each other with respect and all those things. So setting ground rules and boundaries for the conversations and also having that mental health specialist there to help them navigate those big conversations is really special. So shout out to her. I'm sure she wouldn't mind Miss Walsh. She's incredible. So
Yeah, that's this is pretty phenomenal because I'm sitting here and I don't ever remember. There were plenty of times myself and friends in high school needed to see a counselor, and I can't think of one time that anybody called me down or them. Like we just kind of dealt with it and went through. So this is great that this has been a turning corner for the kids to come because it's definitely needed. It's so important. How has the definition of student well-being changed at your school over the past few years? And I'll start, Ms. Ross, and I'll start with you.
I think first off, the term student well-being is kind of a new term as far as going past the academics, because even 5, 6 years ago we were focusing on student well-being, but so much has changed in recent years. Our students are so much more connected to social media that when they come to school, they have heard things, they have had debates about things that a lot of times have to be addressed. I think probably a little bit more so in the upper grades. So, while all those academics are extremely important, we have a morning meeting each morning. We have certain topics. We also talk about, I understand you hear things, and if we tell them not to talk about things, they're going to talk about things. So if there's something that you have a question about, ask me. If I can't answer, we'll find the answer together. Um, but I do spend a lot of my time, depending on kind of the week they've had, being able to help them regulate emotions and feeling safe and feeling that they belong. I think it would be nice to just come in and be able to do the academics, but if other things are going on, it doesn't matter because my academics aren't going to go anywhere. So sometimes having those hard discussions, sometimes they're quick. Sometimes, we have to bring in, like a Miss Khadijah to come in and really talk to us. Because sometimes the hard decisions are hard for teachers too. And kids are like, well, you're supposed to know everything. I don't. And I don't want them to think I am the know-all. I want them to know that if there's something that you don't understand, you get help, just like if there's something that I need support with, I get help as well. Because we can't do it on our own. And I think if they feel that way, then they'll think, well, if I don't know it, that's it. I just have to deal with it. But showing them that there are others that, know more, better trained to help is the way to go.
Awesome, awesome. Miss KD?
The way I feel like student well-being has changed in the schools, I feel like, how do I say this? I feel like school staff reason with students a little bit better, meaning like they're more willing to get on their level and talk to them compared to what it was when like we were growing up as children when we were growing up. It's like see what you see and be quiet, like don't question adults, don't have an answer. But now it's to where no, kids have questions and they want it to be answered, like they're going to continue to ask. But it's also to where the adults there were like able to come down and have those genuine conversations, like have those hearts talk about feelings, like and I feel like that has definitely changed. If it does feel like teachers now, they do kind of play the role of counselor or like big sister, little sister program. Like students come to their teachers and feel safe and can have conversations. And yeah, so I feel like it's a lot more understanding, I feel now. I do feel like, yeah, everybody's willing to have these conversations and kind of just talk. Yeah.
And that is so true because, yeah, when I was growing up, you just had to just be quiet. That's just what you had to do. And if you didn't, there were consequences. So, shout out to the teachers who are listening and getting on level. Miss Kelso,
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time for me so I make sure I answer it?
how has the definition of student well-being changed at your school over the last few years?
I definitely want to mention the cell phone thing because they bring in, like she said, they bring in so much that we can't monitor. There's no way to keep track of it. And I think even before, like there was a pool of things, like kids experience so much more than what we can imagine, but there was a pool of things that helped us narrow down how to help them. Once the cell phones came into play, there's no telling what they're seeing and what they're being exposed to. And so making sure that those safe holds are in place, like the state of Ohio has banned cell phones. Like they are not allowed to have their cell phones from, well, at least I will say in our building. Yeah. They in our building, you know, they leaning on that bill, that new bill that came out. They can't have their cell phones from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. And so that at the end of the day has been a good thing. It was really hard at the beginning, but it's been a good thing because we're able then to at least protect them while they're in the school building. So you know, it's been hard with having mental health specialists. My old school, we had a different mental health specialist every year. We didn't have any consistency as far as that goes because it's difficult. It's really really hard on mental health specialists and it's hard on the school. But at the school I'm at now, we've got some consistency with that. And the next thing, really, as far as student wellness, was protecting them as much as you can from the outside world, as you know, when they're in the school building. So that's been a big thing is the cell phones.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I have to say this. You keeping up with cell phones is like the teachers was trying to keep up with me and my notes. I was passing notes back and forth, left and right. There was no way they were going to be able to keep up that. So trust me, I understand. Miss Christina?
I feel like we receive a lot more training on children and mental health and their well-being. There's even like a video that we show at the beginning of the year that talks about like suicide prevention and things of that nature. Things that before weren't really talked about. It was just, if you're sad, you just have to figure it out. But now teaching students how to deal with that and how us as teachers can be better equipped to recognize the changes in students and to get them the help that they need, or get them to the right person for what they require.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, that's phenomenal. The new age teachers I wish that I had have had all of y'all when I was in school. I had some good ones. But I definitely wish that I hope that there are more teachers that are doing what you guys are doing. If you were given an unlimited budget for your school for just one day, what is the first thing you would implement? Miss Kelso?
That's a good one. Unlimited budget. I'm definitely doing more training. The last district that I was in, we had training once a month. But this current district, there's not that much training. And I would definitely get more training, especially sensitivity training, trauma informed training. So we did a lot of trauma informed training in my last district. Restorative practices training, because we don't have that much in the district I'm in now. There would be so much more training, and like training where teachers feel like they can actually use it in the classroom. Because I've been in, my fair share of trainings that I'm like, this could have been an email, like, so, but training that teachers can say, okay, I've seen this, I can apply this, and I can actually help my students. So as like kind of stereotypical as that seems, definitely more training for our teachers in this district that I'm currently in.
Miss KD?
I would say unlimited funds. Truthfully, I would get a yoga instructor, and the extra funds will go towards the teachers. To be honest, it would pay staff, and all schools mandatory. The students have to participate in yoga daily. I feel like that's one way for them to slow down their mind, slow down their body, and just like get back to thought just for a moment, and decompress. I feel like that would be like changing for the staff, the students, all of the above. But yeah, money go back to the teachers, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, I've said that a million times. Like they need raises like every other month. So for sure. And I love the whole yoga because trying to teach kids how to relax and decompress, because even as adults, a lot of times I have to figure out a way and talk to myself about how to calm down, how to relax, your shoulders are tight, my back is tight because I can't shut my mind off. So definitely that would be helpful. Miss Roston?
I definitely love the idea of having spaces for our students and teachers to relax and decompress. I would love to see some type of center for parents where we had interpreters for different languages, where parents could come and fill out forms and do all the things that sometimes they need support with, but maybe are uncomfortable asking for the help. I work at a very diverse school. We have families that speak Arabic, Spanish, different dialects of Chinese. And so trying to find assistance can be challenging, but if we had a dedicated space in the school where if I speak Arabic, I can come to your school, to my child's school, and I know that there will be someone who can speak Arabic with me to help support myself as a parent and help my child. Um, Google Translate can be helpful once in a while, but but having a place like that, and again in the school we do have services outside of the school, but we're spread very thin. So my money would go to having something in our building that was there, people that a space that was staffed every day from 8 to 4 o'clock for parents to get that support, whatever it is, but for whatever they need they could come to the school because the kids are there all day. There's no reason why they shouldn't get support in the schoolhouse where their children are being educated all day.
For sure, for sure. That is definitely, I have heard and I know all too well about Google Translate because again, I work in a salon where it is just kids and there are parents that do not speak English, and we're fumbling around trying to get Google to translate correctly. We've had to start over 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then we finally land on me picking out a picture, and there we go. So that is a phenomenal way that would definitely help if you had no budget. Miss Christina?
I'm going to choose team building. I think, and I mean for staff and students, I think when you engage in a team building exercise that's meaningful and fun, not like some of these hokey icebreaker things, they make you do. But where you really get to work with people that you don't work with every day and learn about them. It makes you see people differently. You learn their strengths or things they might need help with. And I think that's important for like the staff in the building to have a more cohesive staff, which will make the student body better. Staff working with students on team building things, students working with students. Um, I think, and it goes back to relationships. If I don't know anything about you and you're just like the teacher who's upstairs, maybe we could be collaborating and doing something with our classes to benefit the students. But if I don't know you or your other students that aren't in your class don't know who you are, it just doesn't work as well. I guess if that's what I'm trying to get across. But yeah, we would do team building activities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now we just gotta put together a way for you all to get an unlimited budget for a day.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great.
We gotta figure that out. Okay, for sure. In a week where everything may feel like an uphill battle, what are the small victories that keep you coming back on Monday? Miss Khadijah.
What keeps me coming back is honestly gratitude. Grateful that I'm able-bodied to get up and go to work. Um, Knowing that I have a purpose in the relationships that I have with my students. Um, I I mean, I want to add to that. So that's what helps me to continue going. My students, they keep me accountable too. I'm very like, I don't act, you know how, some like teachers or some coworkers that you may work with, they kind of put on a facade. I'm very like honest. I'm very like, to the point, I'm myself. And I like for my students to be able to do that as well. So I tell them to keep me accountable too. So I'm contracted, so I'm able to go in. I make my own schedule. So if there's a week where if I don't let them know, okay, I won't be in today, the next day my students will be like, Miss Khadijah, like what's up? Like what happened? Why are you not here? Like I have to tell you about X, Y, and Z. So but yeah, so it's really my students that keep me going, my purpose, and just being grateful that I'm able to.
For sure. Yeah. When we love someone, we want to know where you were yesterday. Were you sick? Were you okay? What happened? We want to know. Miss Roston?
I definitely have to agree with Miss Khadijah. I generally don't take very many days off. And if I do, I try to prepare my students. One, because, their routine is seeing me at the door. So if I'm not going to be there and they know I'm not going to be there, so they're like, okay, this is they're very concerned. Sometimes it feels like they're being very intrusive, but like Miss Khadijah said, we hold each other accountable. When I'm not there, I let them know, and when they're not there, I want to know. So it's a mutual accountability factor between us, and I generally love my job. Sometimes I sit there and I think, when is Friday coming? But I'm going to be very honest. On Sunday night, 99% of the time, I'm like, ooh, tomorrow's Monday. And when I tell them that Monday is my favorite day, you could ask one of my students today, what's Mr. Austin's favorite day? Probably Monday. They don't understand it, but they do understand it because I am so happy to see them. We all have our moments, but I would say 99% of the time, I am just excited for a new week. And as all of us know, May is here, so our weeks are just a few more. And I'm going to miss them. And I tell them that. I let them know I'm going to miss you. We're going to have a great summer, but I'm going to miss you. So it's that accountability and just really just loving what I do, loving what I do.
For sure. For sure. I love it. Your favorite day is Monday. That is so cute. I love it. Miss Christina?
Definitely the students for sure. I love them to death. I, in my position, I have my students their entire high school career. So I get them in ninth grade and I keep them through 12th grade. So watching them grow and change and having things to look forward to. Like I plan out activities, once a week that are fun activities for us to do. So I'm looking forward to it because I'm just as, a big kid just like they are. So yeah, I think it's the students and having things to look forward to. And you're right, it's almost summertime and I'm going to be sad at the end of the year. I'll miss the kids that are graduating and I'll miss this group that I have over the summer.
That is phenomenal. True teachers at heart. Miss Kelso?
Yeah, it's the kids. And you know, in my last building, um, again, I was at a trauma school, and so my kids went through a lot. And there's a lot of inconsistency in a lot of my kids' lives. And so knowing that I'm the consistent, like I'm the one they're gonna see every day. I have a smile and a hug for each and every one of them, even on the hard days. That in itself was enough. Knowing that you had how many 150 kids relying on you to be there. And so, you know, that responsibility, that level of love really is what keeps me coming back. Now it's my student groups. I'm at a predominantly white school now, and one of the groups, other groups that advise our Black Student Association. And our Black students, we only make up less than 13% of the school. And I'm the only Black female teacher in the entire school building. And so I'm holding it down for everybody in that building. And so not being there, it weighs a little bit heavier on me than it did before. And so making sure that I'm there and that I'm that constant for even these kids. I cried leaving my other kids because I felt like I had abandoned ship and that I left them and everything. I didn't feel like I was needed. And then coming to this building, I'm like, oh no, they need me. They need, you know, they need me. And so that's what that feeling of being needed and the profession that we're in, that need could look different, but it never goes away. And so, you know, I love them, and so I keep coming back every time. I ain't going nowhere.
Shout out to you. That's awesome. Holding it down. That is a good thing. I know they look forward to seeing you every day. This work, the work that you all do is emotionally heavy. How do you how do you leave work at work and then go home and be present at home? Because I mean, this is some heavy stuff that y'all deal with all the time. So Ms. Roston, I want to start with you. How do you come home and then just kind of like turn it off?
If I'm being honest, you don't. It's kind of like a forced thing. Um, I have definitely learned to set boundaries for myself. You know, sometimes it's like I'm not checking email after 4 o'clock, or I'm not checking email on the weekend because I can't do anything on Saturday or Sunday, and it's going to be there when I get back. You know, another thing is having just a good friends, a good support system of friends. All of my friends, I would say, I don't know, probably 100% of them are teachers, but we know how to have fun where we're not talking, you know, teacher talk all the time. My daughter-in-law is a teacher. Like I said, my mom was a teacher, so it's hard because that's really all I've known career-wise, but just it's little things, like I said, not checking your email, not opening your computer, you know, little things like that, because it can and has been very heavy over the years. And so you sometimes just have to tell yourself, stop, like you're not doing that. It'll be there. It never goes away. It'll be there. And so having a good support system is key. As you see, my one of my support systems has joined the conversation. If not, she was going to bark the whole time. So I'm glad this is just video. I mean, this is just going to be audio because I didn't know what to do.
She does not care what you're doing.
Not at
She just
all.
needs to be in your lap. She's like, that's, I don't know what's going on. I really don't even care, but I just need my space, please. Give me my space. I need my spot on your lap. Miss Christina?
I agree with the not checking emails and things like that. I try to have a day where I don't do anything like related to school, and that's usually Saturday. And to also realize that it's kind of like my circle of control. I can't control things that are happening at school, either like if I'm not there or, you know, what's going to happen. It doesn't matter because I can't do anything about it right now. worrying myself is only going to hurt myself. So just trying to find a hobby that I enjoy doing that, and trying to decompress from the school day, and I'll get to it in the morning and it'll get done. But I have to, at the end of the day, worry about myself, because if I worry myself to death or get sick, they're just going to put somebody else in my place. And I don't want, I don't want a stranger with my kids. So at the end of the day, I have to take care of myself. And, like you were saying, set boundaries and, you know, yeah, take care of myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you can't take, you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't care for your kids. So that's definitely for sure. Miss Khadijah?
Yes, so mine would definitely be the setting boundaries. That's a big, big thing. Setting boundaries for myself, for my students, and I'm also that person for my friends and family. So even with when I'm not with my students, I'm like, girl, how you feeling? What's going on? What's going on with your life? Like, let's and I'm like, okay, no. So I've taken a lot of time and I try to get away from that, but it's hard for me to do that, honestly. So I've been taking a lot more time to myself and by myself, to where I'm not having to micromanage anything or can just be, not having to talk because I talk a lot. So not having to talk and just sit in silence and just like people watch or do little Legos or like color or go painting or like go for a walk. But um definitely set boundaries with my students, let it be known, like, and they have my direct number, so they'll call me at any time. And I had to let them know, like, no, your day is on Tuesdays. When I see you on Tuesday, I will talk about everything. You have an hour, hour and a half. If you think of something, write it down. Like, we'll see you. Like, because they would blow my phone up, like texting about the silliest things that could have waited. So sometimes they're silly and sometimes they're big things. But even in big things, it's also, I don't want them to be codependent either. So I have to teach them how to do things on their own as well. So and self-regulate. Because I won't always be around. Somebody won't always be around. So in that is just setting the boundaries and actually sticking to them.
Ooh, I'm sure your phone is constantly ringing. My goodness. If a teen or a student has your phone number, I'm more than sure that, yeah, it's almost like you almost need to put that on silent and let it go to voicemail. Miss Kelso?
Yeah, these ladies said it all about boundaries. Boundaries are everything. For me personally, that I have a commute home from work. It's like 35, 40 minutes. I listen to music. I have to listen to music. I have to listen to audiobook. I have to do something to get my mind off of it because it's so easy to let it all come home with you. Like, because you care. We love them and we care. And so when it's a bad day or even when it's a good day, I'm the type to run it back and, I want to think about all the things, whatever. But that, whether it's a good day or bad day, whatever it may be, you have to leave it because, there's so many other things that need my attention. And so making sure that I put on good music or audiobook or just something to kind of take my mind off of things on the drive home is really, really important. And then there was a lady that I used to work with, and her biggest advice to me was you clock in at 7:15 and you clock out at 2:45. Like, stop staying after school. Like, it's gonna be here tomorrow. And inevitably there's some stuff we have to do on the weekends or after school, but that was a golden gem that she gave to me because there were days that I would stay, we were out at 2:45 that school, I would stay till 4:35 o'clock doing stuff, and I didn't have any type of work-life balance. So making sure that when I clock in, I'm in and I'm 100% in. Don't call me, don't text me, don't ask me for nothing. If nobody's bleeding, dying, dead, y'all figure it out. And once I'm out of school, that's it. Again, don't text me, don't call me. If nobody's bleeding, dying, and dead, I'll be back in the morning. So, yeah, boundaries and then having those extra little things on the side. Living life, go to the concert, go to the place, walk around the mall, enjoy the time, so that, being 100% in life when I'm not in that school building.
Having the ability to take control of your mind to be able to shift it to something that you know you need to shift it to in order to relax, to calm yourself down, and to take you away from the things that you can't control. Yeah, that takes skill to be able to do that, because it's so easy that you could just always be possibly up at night, not even being able to sleep because of something that happened during the day. What is the one thing you wish parents knew about the way you view and care for their children? Miss Kelso, I'm gonna start with you.
That's hard. The very first thing that came to my mind is, again, the law. When they are not in your care, they're in ours. Anything that happens in that 45 minutes that I have your kid in local parentis or something like that, when the parent is absent, they are your responsibility. And so there's that level, foundational level of things. But we also, outside of the parents, the person that the kid spends the most time with is their teachers. And so we get to know a lot about them. And, you know, God willing, we're able to create this safe space for them. There's things that we know about them that sometimes maybe the parent might not know. And, there's a level of comfort. And so everything is met with love and everything is met with a watchful eye. We're also mandated reporters. So if that kid is saying something that's concerning or whatever the case may be, it's our job to make sure that that gets reported, not only first and foremost for the safety of the child, but also for my license. I'm not about to lose my license, because we did establish an air of safety, and now they disclose something, that I have to share. So not only do we care for them on in a legal standpoint, but also there's a part of our hearts that they absolutely steal. And I would want parents to know that it's not just my job. I don't do this for the money. Like Miss Christina said, I think it was Miss Christina. We don't get paid I don't make enough money for this to be. I do it because of the money. I don't do it because of the money. I do it genuinely because I love these kids. And so I would want them to know that most teachers feel that way.
Miss Christina?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's because I love the kids and I love the job. No, I forgot. What was the other part of the question?
What's the one thing you want parents to know about the way you
Oh,
view and care for their child?
oh, that I am like their parent when they are not there, and I try to give them love and care and the things that they need, and also being at a high school, I'm having to deal with relationships of these students, and so giving advice or trying to steer them as far as like how to talk to girls, how to be around boys. Like it's that part, no academics. It's all a lot of it is those social skills and teaching life skills. Um, and just for the parents to feel okay that I'm doing that and they'll call if they're not, get them together. They told me such and such. But I know that you wouldn't let them do that. Yeah, I'm mom when they're at school.
For sure, for sure. Miss Roston?
I think the one thing that I would like parents to know is that my expectations of my students are high. And I would also hope that their parents' expectations of me are high. And so if we have that understanding that I expect the best out of your students where they're at, and I want parents to also understand that, expect the same from me because I have to model for them what I expect. I model for my students what respect looks like, what responsibility looks like, and I need them to support that by supporting me. And so I think when we have that understanding, I think we all agree that it's so much more than academics. I want my students to walk out of my classroom being good human beings. I want them to be smart human beings, but I want them to be good human beings because we need that. That's what we need. We need people who are compassionate, who give each other grace, who are respectful. Every now and then I'll see something in my classroom and we have to stop because that is not what the expectation in this classroom, in this building. And once you are an adult and you walk outside, you can't say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that in fourth grade." You did. You knew that. You knew that. So there's a lot of um just the expectations are high because I want them to be successful people. I want them to be amazing. And whatever they decide to do in their life, I want them to be amazing because the expectations have been set. You know, when they get to Miss Christina in high school, you know, I know Miss Christina, my goodness, oh my goodness. Um, but that is, you know, it's setting high expectations. And that's not to say that I'm, you know, like, you know, just nailing them, but be good people, be good people, be good people.
For sure, for sure. It starts, uh, when they're 6, 7, 8, and 9. It starts then. So absolutely. Miss Khadijah?
I agree with everything Miss Rawson just said, about the expectation, about the care, because it's not only me representing my company, I represent me. You know what I mean? So it's like, and the students that I have around me, or anybody that I have around me, like, I want us to grow. But I also want it to be known, like, mostly is we're growing in all facets, you know. So there's that, and that also knowing that the parents know that I care. Your child is safe with me, they're seen with me, um and they're safe, you know, in every form. So yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. Miss Kelso, did you get a chance to answer that question with the parents? Yeah, okay, I wanted to make sure. Speaking of parents, I have to ask you all this. I work in a salon where there is just kids, and we offer, after they get their haircut, we offer them, they get a free sucker and they get a free balloon. So I had a parent that brought her child in earlier in the week. And when we're done, the kids don't know me, and I try to get them to be comfortable. I gave him, I said, "Can I have a high five?" He said, "No." He said, "No." I said, "Okay, no worries." So we get to the front and I offer him a sucker. I said, he got his balloon. I said, "Would you like a sucker?" He said, "Yes." He got a sucker. I said, "Can I have a high five?" He gave me a high five. So the parent called back because she felt like that her son should not have been uh, given a sucker in order to give a high five, that he should be able to make his own choices with his own body. If he should not be coerced um, into getting a sucker when clearly that's bribing him to do something that he did not want to do. And he should have his own voice. So, with that, is that part of this new gentle parenting? Can someone explain to me what has happened? Because I mean, this literally just happened. The assistant manager didn't even know how to tell me. She said, "I don't even know how to tell you this. Nothing was wrong with the haircut. She thought the haircut was great. You were great. She just wanted to give me feedback and to tell the rest of the team that, that she felt like that by me giving him this sucker, that this was taking away his voice and his right to do what he wanted to do with his own body. Can someone, anyone, all of everybody chime in to tell me what happened with that? Because you guys work with students all the time. Christina?
We talk a lot about like your being a person and your boundaries, and that like if somebody wants to give them a hug, you don't want to give them you don't have to, just to like be nicer or whatever. Um and I don't know, I can kind of see it both ways, but it doesn't sound like you were like, if you don't, give me a high five, you don't get a sucker. So it wasn't like that. Um but that was the perception of the parent. But we do talk a lot about boundaries, and everybody doesn't want to give high fives or touch, or maybe they just want to fence bump. You don't have to touch to if some just because someone wants to, because a lot of times children will be agreeable because they think that they don't want to hurt your feelings, or you'll be mean to them if they don't just listen to you. So that might be where that's coming from. I don't know. That's kind of a weird one.
Well, can you clarify? So at first you asked for a high five, he said no. You got out, you gave him the sucker, and then he volunteered to give you a high five. Can you
I,
clarify like the
I said,
the
can I offered him a sucker. He took the sucker. And then I said, can I get a high five now? He said
Mhm.
yes, and he gave me one.
Oh,
But the
oh, oh, oh.
mom, yeah, she didn't, she felt as if
It's really that's
and so
yeah,
I just really I was like, well, the best people for me to ask are the people who deal with kids all the time. So
yeah,
you know, my assistant manager, like I said, she didn't even know she said, I don't even know how to tell you this because I don't even know, you know. So in her mind, she it was almost like she felt like I was bribing him or
yeah,
putting him in a forceful situation to give me a
yeah.
high five, you know, and she said she felt like his voice uh you know, silently. He was 3, by the way. He
Yeah.
was 3.
I can
So
like I can kind of see where she okay, so we also don't make our daughter give hugs to anybody. Like if she will say, give him a hug, and if she says no, it's no. Like she gets to call those shots. Um, if I were in that situation, I don't know that I would have taken it that I mean, it's really hard because it's just different for every parent and different for every kid. And so, and I'm a big advocate for speaking up for your kids. And if you did feel like something was off, like making sure that you say something or, whatever. So, and it's a hard thing to do. I don't know that I would have felt that way, especially because you respected his no to begin with. And if he would, I feel like if you would have gave the sucker and he would have still said no, you still would have respected that boundary. I don't know that you meant it that way. And so it's just very difficult. It's such gray area, really, really gray area. But I do think it is a generational thing because when we were kids, the expectation was that you gave hugs to everybody, you said hello to everybody. There was no space to, you were considered disrespectful or rude, and you weren't about to represent your parents that way. So I think it is a generational thing, 100%. But it's difficult. I feel like in some spaces grace is not granted. Like if she said no, my daughter is a girl, she said no, it's no. And so you can't, there's nothing you could do after that point after she said no. But then the situations like this, it's a lot of gray area. It's a lot of gray area. So I don't know that I would have taken it that way, but you know it's hard.
Miss Khadijah, you're in social work. What do you think happened with that?
Truthfully, I see it both ways also. Um, I wouldn't have taken offense to it, but at the same time, we don't know what mom's past trauma is. We don't know what the environment is for the child, and we don't know if that's something she's been working on them with because of the environment that they're in. So she took it that extra step and advocating for her child. So I wouldn't take it personally. I know that in that instance, it's easy to take personal. But I wouldn't take it personally. I would just think of it as like this is a personal preference for them, and this is probably regarding something that they've been through. So that's where that like grace and goes by. But yeah, so I see it both ends. Like I see it on your end, just like trying to get the child to feel more comfortable. Like here, like you did a good job. Like here's a sucker. Like we did good. Congratulate each other. Hand five. Like so, I get on your end, but I also could get where the mother is coming from as well. And yeah, and also like not even just to say I would take the same advantage of the fact that if it was a girl and a boy, you get what I'm saying? Because girls and boys go through things, you know what I mean? So it's like, so the same way we're with emphasis on like, not with Sarah, there's no man that's gonna be standing next too close to her, you know what I mean? It should be the same way for boys as well. So that's why I say, okay, let's, give it some grace and don't take it personally because we don't know what they've been through. It might be mom projecting like something that's happened to her and she's like trying to make sure nothing at all happens to him. So and not saying that you would do any of that, but yeah, I see it both
Thank,
ways.
perfect. Thank you. Miss Roston?
Um, I think what I what I have a little bit of an issue with is she could have advocated for him with you there. And I feel like, yes, he said no the first time and then he got the sucker and he gave you the high five. I think the appropriate conversation would have been to have had it with you and not leaving the salon and then calling your manager. Because to me it just feels like a complaint, and I agree with what all the ladies said, but also part of that advocacy for your child is you showing them that with the person that you are, having, I don't even want to say conflict, but with that person. Because it's easy to make a phone call, but it's also more impactful. Miss Watkins, I'm sorry he did not feel comfortable giving you a high five. We appreciate your service. He loves his haircut. Maybe next time he'll feel more comfortable. That was a 30-second conversation that did not require a call in to your boss. I feel like I'm a little older, so like that's kind of how I would have handled it. But it, and I don't even know if that's what you would call gentle parenting. I just think I think Miss Khadijah said maybe she had a past trauma. But then again, that still goes to the point of Miss Watkins, he doesn't feel comfortable. We appreciate your service. We hope to see you again. Maybe he'll feel more comfortable. Have a great day.
Exactly. Well, thank you. I had to ask because I was like, okay, let me ask all the professionals who have license and training for all of this. And I do want to piggyback off of something for my listeners that Ms. Kelso said. When we are servicing your child in the salon, and when you leave, even if it's to go to your car, we, as the stylists and the barbers, are now legally responsible for your child. That is why we require for you to be there at all times while they are being serviced. So, yes, it's fine for you to run to your car, but you going outside to talk on the phone, I don't really think that parents understand that that is a requirement for us, that you cannot just leave us with your child. So I wanted to go back to that because I think I've seen where parents will just disappear or say, I'm going to go grab lunch. I'm so sorry, so very sorry, but you cannot go grab lunch. You have to stay here because I am not trained. I do know CPR, but I don't really want to have to do it. I haven't had to do it in a long time. I do know the Heimlich, but I don't really want to have to do that either. So I need you to stand here while your child is being serviced. So just wanted to come to, and thank you so much for that. For what advice would you give to a first year teacher or social worker intern starting their first week tomorrow? Ms. Roston.
So I'm actually going through that right now. I've had several student teachers, and I believe one of them is actually applying for a job. And so my best advice would be know yourself. Know we all go into it, kind of starry-eyed. Know yourself. Know if it's not for you. Don't let other people tell you you went to college for this. This is what you're supposed to do. Know yourself. When it doesn't feel like a good fit for you, it's okay because it's not for everyone, and that's okay. I did not have student teachers until I think my last 3 years because I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't think I was like, what am I going to teach you? But what I've realized is that they need to see what it's like. They need to have a welcoming classroom. Most of my student teachers have just been or have been observation only. It's their first observation. So they don't have to teach, but they get to be part of a classroom. And I hope that they've learned something, but I also hope that they see that I have good days, we have not so good days, we have amazing days. It could be all in the same day. but know yourself. And if it's not what you want to do, it's okay. It's okay. Don't do it because someone told you you had to, or because you think you can't do something different.
Christina?
I would say to give yourself grace, and knowing that, like she said, there's good days and there are bad days. You're not going to change the world overnight. And also don't reinvent the wheel. If someone else has done it, go ask them how to do it or look it up, or you know what I mean? Use your resources. It's a school. There's lots of people there. You'll meet people. There's people on the internet. Talk to other people. Do not try to conquer this by yourself. It's not that kind of job. Like you'll burn yourself out. So being the hero and doing everything, just don't do that. Take your time, enjoy the time with your students, but just understand that you're new at it, so some things might not work, but some things will, and that's okay. Just reflect on your day and find the good in it, even if it was a tough day.
Awesome. Miss Khadijah?
I would say, um, I would say know when to take a step back, know when to take time for self. Um, because when you get overwhelmed and you're consistently overwhelmed, you could do more harm than good. Um, so I would definitely say take understand and know when it's time to take a step back, and then also there's a reason for everything. So there's a reason why people do the things they do. So have the patience to figure out why. So there's a reason why you do things, and there's a reason why they do things. So there's always a why, no matter what. So it's like so take that time to figure out the why, and then also take the time for self when it's time, like we know when it's time to just, we need a day. We need to go to the car real quick and take 5 deep breaths. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you. Miss Kelso?
Yeah, I would tell them it gets better. Um, it gets better. I definitely agree. Like when you know for a fact it's not for you, gracefully bow out at that time. If you know for a fact it's not for you, but if there's some rough times, but more good than bad, and you know that you're in your calling, know that it gets better. Like it gets better. You're gonna go through things, you're gonna make mistakes. Don't go into it thinking you're never gonna mess up and I'm gonna do everything right and I'm gonna play everything, by the book, and so I'll be okay. You're gonna mess up. And I think it's not messing up, it's what you learn from it and making sure that you don't make the same mistake twice. Um it gets better and you're gonna mess up and that's okay. Just learn from it, figure out how to be better and how to do better. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. When a student walks across the graduation stage, what is the one lesson, non-academic, by the way, you hope they take from their time with you? Ms. Kelso, I'm gonna start with you.
I hope that these ladies mentioned it earlier in our conversation, but I just hope that they have learned kindness, how to be good people, that they're not going to be perfect, and that that's okay. That if no, like you're gonna, one of the things that I tell them is you haven't met all the people that are gonna love you yet. Like, remember that. Like, this isn't it. It gets so much better. And even if you feel like you've met all the people that love you, remember me. I love you. You can always reach back. You can always come back. But that's the two biggest things is kindness. Be kind. If you can't be kind, be quiet. But be kind. And you haven't met all the people who are gonna love you yet. So I'd give the example, I didn't have my baby girl until I was 25 years old. So people don't meet the love of their lives sometimes till they're 60, 65. Like you got to give it time, and everything is temporary. So, those two things will be the biggest things I want them to take away when they walk across the stage and into the real world. Yeah.
Awesome. Miss Christina?
I would say advocacy skills. It's so important working with teenagers with disabilities that they learn to advocate for themselves. A lot of kids have sensory needs or other things. They need to be able to say, can you turn the lights off? I can't deal with this. I need you to be able to use your words and tell people what you need, and in a way that people will respond positively to you, so that you have a positive experience after you leave high school, because I can't be there to protect you like during your day, you know what I mean? So I want them to be able to advocate for themselves when they go get jobs, say what their needs are, um, what their limitations are, so that they have good experiences as they leave high school.
Absolutely. That's truly important. Miss Roston?
I have to agree with all of what the ladies have said. I love the advocacy skills. I think all students need that, and being able to just speak up for yourself. It's difficult sometimes and not fitting in. I love the clubs that Miss Christina said that she had where, everyone is kind of doesn't fit maybe in the mainstream. Um, that's how life is. We don't, I don't even know what the mainstream is anymore, because everyone's so different. But speaking up for yourself, being a good person, and loving those people that love you. Sometimes we want someone to love us so bad that we forget to love ourselves. And so just all those things that, I think growing up, I wish I knew some of those, like, oh my gosh, but making sure our students leave with those skills. And I love that none of those skills are academic skills either, because they're life skills. And that's what we need. We need to have skills for when things get tough. We need to be resilient. Our students need to bounce back from adversity. And so all of those things are just, life skills.
For sure, for sure. I definitely agree with all of everything that you said. This concludes our show for today, listeners. I sure hope you guys learned a lot, because I learned a ton of information that I did not know before. Thank you so much for all of my teachers and KD, our social worker, for being on. Wake up ready to command the room with every blink. Satisse Lashes deliver effortless volume and unapologetic glamour. Shop the look at SatisseLash.com, because you are beautiful and enough. Be well, be at peace, be inspired, stay inspired, and pass the inspiration along to someone else.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We on air now. Real life, real laughs, real sound. You found your place, you home now. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Oh yeah.